well, I cheated because my mom's an art teacher.
Hey guys, welcome back. This is another interview. This is my brother Steven, and just a quick introduction. He's a UX designer in New York City for this company called Jakt. I don't know much about his work, but I'm here to learn just as much as you guys.
So I'm a UX designer at Jakt. It's a digital innovation studio based in New York. So a UX stands for user experience. So my role as a UX designer is to design for users, people who are using these digital products, be it a app, a web tool, whatever, anything digital that is solving a specific problem for these clients that we partner up with. These clients range from very early startups to enterprises. So the type of problem, or I guess the medium of the product varies between project to project. A UX designer's role is to always advocate for the users. So a company or a product of a company is always going to have different stakeholders. There's going to be the stakeholders for the business. They're going to be considered. They're going to be attentive to the finances or whatever, the well-being of the business, and yeah, the designers have to kind of really fight for what's best for the users of the product, since ultimately the lifespan of a product is dependent on how well it's usable, or how well it's appreciated by people that actually use the product.
So can you describe some work that you're working on now, if that's possible, or some cool things that you've worked on to really advocate for this user experience?
So one project I'm working on is with a bigger enterprise hedge fund company. We're building a open source product platform for them, and this platform allows users to create these financial models that run through a simulation to kind of gauge how a market would do with a specific script. So you're coding these financial models. So that one's really cool, since one, it's a user group that I'm not very familiar with, both in like the finance industry, as well as these people who are writing scripts. So that always poses new user groups pose unique challenges. So that's always fun, and it's cool because it's an existing product. I think they've been around for a while now, at least a decade, and so we're doing the redesign of it. So we had to kind of audit how these users currently use the product. We do different research methods, like qualitative research through interviews, sort of like this, trying to understand the needs, the frustrations, or the ultimate goals of the users. And then from there we do sets of iterative designs. So we address these insights that we gain from research and convert them to design, and then we try to validate our designs through more research. So usability testings are very important for that. We sit down with, again, the users to see how well our designs perform.
So what do you think are some skills that if someone wants to become a designer, what are some things that you would really recommend that they keen on?
Yeah, so I think all designers should know and like to draw. You don't have to be a amazing artist or whatever, but I think drawing is a important skill for designers, since being able to communicate more abstract ideas or concepts is very important. I think it's important because oftentimes some ideas are going to be a little difficult to communicate verbally. So by being able to draw a diagram or some sort of flow is important to communicate these thoughts to other people successfully. And also drawing is I see it as a process of thinking too. Drawing allows you to connect what you're drawing with your thought process.
I see you draw all the time as we grew up, right? So what are some things that make you want to draw, or do you just start the process? I feel like some people don't know what to draw.
I have that problem too. I think that's very normal. Just like a writer might not know what to write about, designers, for anyone to practice drawing, you might not know what to draw. I think the easiest way to both hone your skills and just start drawing is to draw things that are around you. So you can draw, things, static objects like this cup over here, and just being able to transcribe what you see into a 2D surface. I think it's something you could practice. And from there, I would just encourage people to, think about drawing not so much as an end product, but as your thought process itself. So, maybe you're working out a problem. It could be a design problem, could be a business problem, any type of problem. You start to kind of draw diagrams, drawing like one object A connected to object B, and by creating these relationships that's visible, I think you're able to work out some of these problems that are usually just in your head onto paper to really understand what you're trying to solve.
So what are some books and resources that helped you hone your skills with drawing? Maybe it's like a professor speaking a book.
So there's a book called Creative Confidence by David Kelly and Tim Kelly. I think they're brothers, and they're partners at this famous innovation company called IDEO. And so the book's called Creative Confidence, and the core message of the book is to learn how to draw. Be confident in just drawing. Like I said, you don't have to be a great designer or great drawer necessarily, but being able to confidently communicate your thoughts through visual representations, I think is a very important skill to have. So that book, I think that's worth a read. It talks about kind of dissecting how you draw in more simple terms. So it talks about, you know, breaking down like a 3D object, for example, into simple geometry. So when you look at a cup, you see the opening of the cup, which is an oval, and from there you have, you know, the base of the cup, which is more cylindrical, like a square. So sets of squares kind of joined in a perspective. So so trying to think about drawing as this collage of simple geometry, I think is a great starting point.
So are there some applications or softwares people should become familiar with that will allow them to become a designer, a great designer?
The Adobe products, which can be a little more expensive, but students, I believe they have pretty good student discounts or trials that you can try out. And just being familiar with these tools and ultimately being proficient in them, I think is vital to being a professional in the industry. I think you have to really understand the tools that you're using to use them to their full extent. And that's not just talking about being more efficient at them, but also being maybe more creative through the capacities of these tools.
We were talking about adaptability a little bit, and there's a study by this professor named Dawkins, and he basically said it was based off Charles Darwin's work, saying it's not the fittest that survives, it's not the most intelligent, but the species that's the most adaptable to survive, you know? So how does that relate to you? Was there any parts of your life that you had to adapt quickly, and what can you give as like parts of advice through your own experiences about adaptation?
Okay, that's a good question. I think as a designer, as a UX designer specifically, who's in the digital technology space, I think it's very important to keep tabs on the most current news in technology. Technology is always changing. Not just that, I mean, that's an understatement. Not just that, how different technology can affect other industries or other technology. So being in the know of the latest is important to be a marketable designer, because employers, these big companies, will want to hire people who are not just know how to design, but also design properly in the most cutting edge technology. So Jakt is actually we're starting to go into the blockchain space, trying to be thought leaders in how blockchain should be used, or how blockchain can leverage some of these other solutions that we've been working on for our clients. So yeah, being adaptable in that sense, I think is very important. Okay, I don't think the major or specific subject of study is as important as what you pick up in whatever you study, because I think anything that you can kind of pick up can be adapted to whatever you want to do in the future, which you might not know right now. For example, architecture school taught me how to think like an architect, not to be an architect. I think that's an important distinction. Just like a lawyer doesn't necessarily get schooled to be a lawyer. They learn how to analyze or communicate as a lawyer would. So I think it's important to understand what you're learning in order for it to be applicable for whatever else you want to do in the future. I switched from being an architect to a UX designer, mainly because I was just interested in technology. But I was able to use a lot of these skills and just a design thinking skills of being an architect into um, the industry of UX design.
So, I know you love playing video games, and so do I. We grew up playing a lot. Are there some games that you're playing now that you want to share?
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, no worries.
So
Maybe pick a game that's not embarrassing.
yeah, sure. So the latest game, which doesn't require too much time, so it's perfect, is called Enter the Gungeon. It's a 2D 2D shooter in this like pixel art, which I love. I think it's beautiful. It's a little beautiful game. It's just like mindless shooting through these like automatically generated dungeons.
Nice. They can find. Is that a game app, or
No, I think it's on consoles and PC.
Okay, awesome.
Sponsored by whoever makes them.
Nice. Again, this was my brother Steven, UX designer. And is there anywhere they can find you or connect you to follow some of your work?
You can find me on LinkedIn and Instagram. I'm under High Camp NYC, I think.
Awesome.
That's High, HIGHCAMP NYC.
And that's where they can find logos and
So
some
I
branding
do,
stuff, right?
Yeah, branding, identity work. I post some stuff there.
Awesome. Thank you.